So it's days like today when the weather's beautiful, but it is still winter and it is still cold. And sometimes you fancy a soup, but you don't want a really thick, hearty winter soup. You want a nice spring soup. So that's what we're going to do today. So I'm just going to run through the ingredients. We've got 1.5 litres of chicken stock, a handful of frozen peas, a handful of frozen sweet corn, the juice of a lemon, 2 sprigs of thyme, a teaspoon of dried oregano, or fresh if you have it, 2 garlic cloves which we're going to grate, a whole onion diced, 2 carrots diced, 2 sticks of celery diced, a large courgette diced, and 500 grams of free-range chicken. So what I'm going to do is we're now going to start cooking. Right, what we've got here is some olive oil that's just heating up nicely, and then we're going to add in our onions, our courgettes, carrots and celery. Give those a little stir around. So what we're going to do is we're just going to cook these until they start to soften. And as I say, this is a really nice, it's a spring soup. It's not heavy like a winter soup. It's perfect for this time of year when it's beautiful and sunny out, but you still want a nice warming soup, but you know, not necessarily a thick chunky winter soup. And I know it's a little bit tedious dicing your veg. You may have a food processor with a dicer attachment. If you have, even better. If you haven't, what I tend to do is I dice it all the night before, and then the next day when I'm ready to cook it, it doesn't seem half as tedious because you know you're already ready to go, so you don't feel as though you've stood and done loads and loads of prep and it's taken you forever. So as I say, these are, because that oil was preheated, these won't take any time at all. And what we're also going to do is we're going to grate in our garlic. It's already looking good, and all we've got is veg and garlic in there so far. Give that another stir. Pop in our oregano. Give it a nice season with some fresh pepper. A little twist of salt. And then what we're going to do now is we're going to go in with our stock. All of that in. Lovely. So what we're going to do now is we're going to pop in our fresh thyme. Give that a stir around. So I'm just going to bring this to the boil now, which won't take long because my stock was already hot. As I say, this is lovely and it's such a fresh soup. And I think as well, by dicing the veg the way that it's diced, even the kids will eat it. It's a great way of getting veg into the children as well. Just going to wait for that to come up to the boil. Once that's come up to the boil, what I'm then going to do is I'm then going to put in my chicken breasts. So we put them in whole, because once it's come to the boil, we pop in the chicken breasts whole, and then we lower the heat down and we simmer it for 20 minutes. Then we're going to remove the chicken and shred the chicken and pop it back in with our lemon juice, our peas and our sweet corn. So as I say, I'm just going to wait for this to come to the boil. I mean, you could dice the chicken and put it in, but I quite like it when it's all shredded through. It's nicer than if it's sort of big chunks of diced chicken. It's quite nice that it's all shredded and nearly there. And it does make the difference using fresh thyme. If you can use fresh oregano as well, even better. I did actually go out into the garden to get some fresh oregano, but the frost has hit it quite badly, so we've had to opt for dried. Which, it doesn't matter, it's just slightly nicer with fresher herbs. So we're just going to wait for that to come up to the boil. It's not far off now. So it already looks like quite a nice veggie soup. I mean, I suppose if you were a vegetarian, you could use vegetable stock. And obviously don't put the chicken in, and then you've got actually quite a nice spring veggie soup. So we're nearly there. The smell's amazing from the oregano and the thyme and the garlic. It just smells lovely. And again, with the stock, you could use a stock cube, you could use fresh chicken stock if you've made some. I mean, what I do is if we have a whole chicken, then I usually break down the carcass and make chicken stock and pop it in the freezer. Or you can get a powdered stock cube or one of those gel stock cubes. If you buy those, I tend to opt for the low salt ones, but you know, that's only personal taste. I prefer to add a bit of salt and get the lower salt version. Right, so that's just about to come up to the boil. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in with our chicken. This is 500 grams of free range chicken. So that's obviously brought the temperature down. So I'm going to wait until it comes back up to the boil. I'm just going to wash my hands. So I'm going to wait until that comes back up to the boil. And then I'm just going to simmer it for 15 minutes and then we'll come back. So this has now been simmering away for 20 minutes, and what I've done is I've taken the chicken out and I've shredded most of it, so I'm just going to shred the last one. You know, you don't want it in tiny bits, but you want it shredded enough. So we just shred it like that with the 2 forks. So that all of your chicken's nicely shredded up. There we go. Then what we'll do is we will just pop this back on the front so you can see what's going on. So now we're going to go back in with our chicken. If you wanted to make this more substantial, you could actually put some rice in with it or some pasta in with it, which would make it even more of a substantial meal, but I quite like this for a light spring soup. So that's back in with our chicken. Then we're going to go in with our sweet corn. Our peas. And our juice of a lemon. We're just going to give that a stir through just for a couple of minutes, just to heat those peas and those sweet corn through, just so that that's all nice and cooked. So what I'll do in the meantime is I will get a bowl. So I'm just going to leave that literally for a couple of minutes just to heat through the peas and the sweet corn, and then we'll come back and we'll plate up. So that's just had a couple of minutes just to heat through, just so that the peas and the sweet corn are nicely heated up. And then all we're going to do now is pop some in a bowl, and I'll show you how it comes out. And there you go, that is our lovely spring chicken and vegetable soup.